Well, y'all, we just wrapped a 3-year campaign, but we're not done. This isn't the first campaign I've run with these boys, and it's not going to be the last. The entire cast is going to return. Everyone's gone through some life changes recently, so there'll be a little bit of shuffling around while we figure out a new schedule to record with. But we're already hard at work at world building something new. We're going to stick with Savage Worlds for our next long-term campaign in a custom sci-fi Western world. When I have more details, I promise I will share them with you, but right now it's very much in the world-building stages. We've been going in that for about 3 months, but there's still a lot of stuff I want to do. The cast has come up with some cool characters so far, but haven't made a lot of progress because they're kind of waiting on me. We're working on setting rules as well. It's going to be great. I'm very excited about doing something that's entirely my own, but is adjacent enough to the stuff we've been doing that it will seem familiar to both you and I. That project is probably about 4 months out, and we'll see as things progress in the coming months. But in the meantime, we're going to be releasing a lot of Patreon content, both with 2 mini campaigns with all of the Crow boys. First in Masks, which is a Powered by the Apocalypse setting about teen superheroes, which I'm pretty excited about. Very rules-light compared to what this group is used to. And then following that, on the opposite end of the spectrum, and oh god, I have no idea how we're going to make this work for radio, but we're going to play Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition, which is this really dark, low magic fantasy world. We're going to put up the character creation for that, where basically everything is going to be random and the boys will have to figure out how to make characters out of it, and that's going to be really exciting as well. I've also been recording a Mouse Guard campaign, which I've gotten to be a player in, hosted by Mo Skell, and the other player in the campaign is Renee Wanger. That will be coming out on Patreon as well. We got quite a bit of a backlog I need to get edited and up on the feed. So no pressure. If you don't want to support us on Patreon, no big deal. We'll keep you updated on the main feed as things progress for the next main campaign. But if you do want to support us and you haven't yet, I'll let you know that it's probably not as daunting as you think. One thing I didn't know that Patreon supported until I started the podcast was you'll get an RSS feed that you can just copy paste into your podcast app, and every podcast app just has an add by RSS feed feature. Just copy paste a link that you get immediately once you're a supporter, and you immediately gain access to something that looks like a normal podcast on your feed, but is actually our Patreon feed. Going to be releasing bi-weekly content on Patreon in the meantime, so that's the place to find it. Thank you to everyone that's listened so far. The outpouring of support is the only way we've continued to do the show, and I've continued to keep up the motivation to do the mind-numbing work that is editing this podcast. We're going to work with musicians for a bunch of new stuff for the new show, and thanks to your Patreon support, we actually have a budget to do that with. For the first 2 seasons of Crows, I had about 15 minutes of music to work with, and yeah, I'm just excited. I think the quality of the next show is going to be stellar. One thing I would ask, when we get to that point, when 4 months from now you're listening to our new show, I would ask that when you listen to the new characters the boys have created in the new show we're creating, in your mind, contextualize it with the first season of Crows, right? Like, we had 5 seasons to build up the stakes and build up who these characters are before we got to the finale. And we're going to be doing that again. This time, we'll have the advantage of having done this for 5 seasons, and we're all better performers now, better storytellers, and it's going to be cool to take all of our knowledge and start from the ground floor with these big picture things in mind of, oh yeah, we can actually do a 3-year campaign. Wow. So that's it to our Patreon supporters. I'll see you very soon. And to the rest of you, one more Harrison and Cooper coming up. And then after that, we'll see you on the next side, the flip side on our next campaign.